Hello and welcome to The Understory. Today we are diving into the UK's heated protest scene, from the Epping clashes to the massive Tommy Robinson march in central London, with tensions still simmering after the Court of Appeal's ruling to keep asylum seekers at Epping's Bell Hotel. Are we seeing a summer of disorder or a fight for community voice? So I would like to welcome Martin Gauci today, a dedicated citizen journalist who has been covering the Epping protests firsthand. He's also known for his voice on X. You are co-host of the Uncensored Patriots, I believe.
That's correct.
So Martin, are you ready for a friendly spar today?
Let's go for it. Thank you for having me. Do you like my hat to begin with?
I absolutely love your hat. You came prepared.
I wore this Saturday, so
I love it.
I got a few digs for it and a few little side eyes afterwards, but that's all good.
Yeah, I'm sure you will.
We can go into that if you want after.
I will. I can't wait to hear all about the protests.
Yeah, brilliant.
So obviously you've been there throughout the Epping protest as well. So give us a bit of background. When and why did they begin?
Right, so basically the protest started in Epping purely because there's a migrant hotel that's been there since around 2020. And more recently, back a couple of months ago, a young 14-year-old girl was sexually assaulted by one of the migrants there.
Okay.
That triggered a lot of locals to come out. Epping is a lovely town. It's a lovely small town. You know it yourself.
Yeah.
You know, so the locals have decided to come out and protest against this because this person who's been found, who was charged with it, who now has been charged and found guilty of this offence. It's raised a lot of concerns within the community, especially by mums, the children themselves, the people that attended the local school, which is very, very close in the proximity of the hotel. So that's how they started, which was like in the, I'm thinking around July time.
July 13th, my birthday, I believe.
Is that right? Yeah, is that the exact date?
Yeah.
So because there's been so many, I think out of all there's been so many that we've been protesting near enough twice a week. I've been to about 90% of them.
Okay.
And obviously breaking the news because we run daily X Spaces. This is something we discussed. And I just took it upon myself. I thought it's literally 10 minutes from my road, from where I live, right?
Yeah.
Epping's just up the road for me.
Yeah.
I thought, considering we're there talking about it, there's no better way than going up there myself. So I brought my camera, went up there and started going into looking at these protests, filming them live.
Okay.
And which consequently I've then started doing my own YouTube channel, TikTok. I still don't know how to use it, and then posting bits on various platforms.
You look like you're doing better on it than I am so far.
I'm very busy all the time clipping stuff. So some of the lives has got a lot of traction.
Okay.
So on one of the first ones, for instance, then we've had a lot of agitation by the police and by anti-protesters. So depending on what angle you want to go down, you can feel free to ask me questions about that. I mean, one of the early ones where we had, for instance, we had the Stand Up to Racism turn up.
Yeah, there was, I believe on the July 13th one, there was some violence and eggs thrown at police, and there was 23 arrested, weren't there? I believe on the first ones, but then it seemed to be that they were bringing in counter-protest anti-racism, which is when things started to get more heated, of course.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is as well about these protests, and it's easy for people to either be watching the news and watching clips and watching live streams, but until you actually go to one yourself and be amongst it and actually get the feel of what these protests are about, you get a very good sense of what is going on around you. So on that particular protest, for instance, it was very clear that either anti-protesters, Stand Up to Racism, had turned up to agitate. They were allowed to get from Epping Station towards the Bell Hotel on foot with a police escort. Okay, they could have been stopped at any time, but the police kept saying their excuse was they've got a right to protest, which is fine. They've got a right to protest, but they should have been allowed to stay at the top end of the high street, or just to keep away from for safeguarding, for everyone's safety, keep both sets of protesters away to stop aggravation.
I was going to say, to stop aggravation.
So they didn't do that. Okay, so obviously, naturally, you've got parents and you've got people, you've got locals that are already angry about what's going on at the hotel. So that's what ignited and triggered some of the...
I believe they have about 138 migrants in there, don't they?
That's right, yeah. They've got a capacity of 152, I believe, but they've got 137 now because he's going to be sentenced or hopefully be deported.
I was going to say, how will that...
Hopefully he will be, but that's what we would like to see.
Oh, we're going to be paying for him to be in prison.
No, exactly. That's another cost. It's probably going to cost us more to keep him in prison than it is to keep him in the hotel.
Oh.
So clearly, looking at these guys, that they were agitating us. We were obviously there filming. They were then moved down towards the top end of the high street because they were forced to, and the police contained them in a certain part of the area. That there was a bit of a standoff there. Police, like you say, were then they were flowered. There was one police officer who had literally a bag of flour over him. It was quite humorous at the time. Obviously, I know this is a serious topic, but you can see the funny side in certain parts of it. And then there was a few clashes with police, and then that escalated. I wasn't there at the time, but then there was I've seen the footage. There was a couple of, one of them was another citizen journalist who I know.
Okay.
And there was another guy that actually got run over by a police van. I wasn't there at the time. And then that then triggered a lot of the locals. And obviously we've seen that what went later on that evening.
An escalation.
Where there was obviously, riot police had got heavily involved. I couldn't give you a number. There was well over 100. There was multiple police forces that turned up.
Wow.
But the reason why I wasn't there is because I went round the back. I know Epin really well, and there was me and a couple of others. And I know there's a bit of footage that went viral, and I will plug it. It was. I caught the anti-protesters being escorted into the buses by the police and taken back to Epping. Now, tell me, in whose right mind is that, one, acceptable, and two, what's the relationship between the police and these anti-protesters?
And why was it not the same for your side of the protest as well?
Exactly that.
Brings me back to your coverage. So you are calling out the likes of Councillor Holly Whitbread and basically other wrongs that you're seeing, people that are not fighting for community. Yeah, I mean,
with regards to the councillors, so Holly Whitbread and her dad Chris Whitbread, they've not been to one protest. Right. Okay, they represent the council. Once this has all got to a point after a few protests where the guy got a court and everything was going to court regarding the allegations.
Yes.
There was a hearing where we got an injunction put in place to get the migrants out by around the 12th of September, which was then. So on that, when we got the news, which was obviously, it wasn't great. It doesn't really mean that much. It just meant it was just a very small victory for the community. They then come out of the woodwork. They then showed up at a protest in front, and then all the mainstream media all turned. It would look very organised to me, and they were there taking all credibility for this decision. Okay, within because what had happened the hotel and the Home Office had intervened at the 11th hour, and they tried to get that appeal rejected, but because the judge at the time said, well, you can't just come in here, you can't just be, you've had this information for a long time, you're coming here at the last minute, I'm overruling that. Okay, however, they did then the following week they did put an appeal in, and they won the chance to state their claim as to why they think the Home Office should be allowed to intervene, etc.
Okay.
That decision eventually got overturned. So it went in the favour of the Home Office. Yeah. So basically, as it stands, the migrants have been allowed to stay there until the point, I believe there is a trial coming up in, I believe it's around the 15th of October, which will be between the local council and the owners of the hotel with the assistance of the Home Office. So for me, I think why the Home Office interfering with local politics. We know why, the bigger picture is because this will set a precedent across the whole country, where we've seen Epin has ignited, this fire in the belly of the people across the UK. And they're getting out there, they're getting off their backsides now, and they are protesting outside their own hotels. And it's not because they're doing it for the sake of it, because they've got the same concerns as what all the locals have in Epping, which is we've got school, you can send your children to school, you expect them to be safe, but they're not. We don't know what goes on. These men are being allowed out into the community. We've got to understand they're not here legally. They're here. They're unvetted. They've turned up with no documentation. Right? I'm not saying that all of them. You can tar all of them with the same brush. I'm not saying that, but we don't know that. We can't be sure. So why should we tolerate it? But
what you are saying is basically the government are prioritising asylum duties over local safety fears, and by revoking
well, it was
the
clear that
injunction,
that's what the judge, in to sum up his words, that's exactly what he said.
And which sparked more protests where there were a further few arrests, I believe, weren't there? So that, along with, what was his name? Kabatu, I believe, wasn't it? Kabatu, found guilty. So that fueled further outrage and then more counter-protests.
Well,
it intensified.
It did intensify. Yeah, but in some ways, there was a little, but as it was leading up to, because a lot happened within that week as well. There's we had a couple of the other decisions we had.
Yes.
There was another court hearing that week as well, and because there was a couple of the guys who'd been found guilty of the rioting.
Yes.
That as well, within the same week, and then we had another. There was the other appeal as well.
So it was a heightened week of.
There was a little bit. I'm not going to lie. I think there was a bit of anxiety amongst locals because we thought the way that this judge has been. This particular judge, or the judges within the Essex judiciary, I call them left activist judges. You sort of hear about their background, their links to Labour, etc.
Okay.
You fear for the worst, so we're grateful in that respect that this guy has now been found guilty. But what we sometimes
say they were more biased, judging on their previous.
Yeah, and he was still found guilty. So I think there was a little bit of anxiety. So I don't think. If he'd been found not guilty, I think the tension would have been a lot, there would have been absolute carnage. I could imagine, right? So we're grateful for that. However, what people need to remember is that we've got a 14-year-old girl, who's been sexually assaulted. She will never be the same ever again. No. Yeah, where's her support going to be now? It's not just a bit of support now while this is all in the news. Yeah, she's got family. You know what I mean? Her life is going to be completely different. And it's not just about her. Like I say, it's about the family and the other support network. Now they need to be pushing for all the help and the support they can get as well, because people forget that. Once this all dies down, that can't be forgotten.
I think the focus also needs to be now on how they handle him now that he's got the guilty verdict.
Yeah.
So as we said earlier, are they going to put him in our prison, or are they going to send him back to be dealt with? But then we don't know the situation of these people in the hotels anyway, unfortunately, because it takes so long to be processed at the moment, that you don't know if they're already fleeing crime that they've committed elsewhere.
Exactly.
And then the government then will use that under this whole, we have, you have to protect them, they have to have somewhere to go back to. So you legally can't just deport someone and not without somewhere for them to go. Does that make sense?
Well, there's a couple of arguments to this. So, and I'll get to the point, but I'm going to throw something different. This is one of my thought processes, right? So what people are saying is, well, it's better off keeping them in hotels because they're better than being dispersed amongst the community in, say, for instance, HMOs, right? I'll get people saying we're just moving the problem, right? HMOs should be shut down as well for migrants, right?
Okay.
They all need to be deported. They just all need to go, okay? We can't have this process, I agree, the processing system...
It could take up to 18 months, by which point they've assaulted 14-year-old girls.
There's still around 66,000 asylum seekers waiting to be processed, right? The things we can do, which are in the power of the government, which there's no political will within the government to do, we can stop the boats. If they really wanted to, they could. They could easily deploy the Navy. They could easily turn boats around. When they get to the beach, even my dad come out the other day, he said, well, if they get to the beach, just leave them on the beach. Where are they going to go? He was joking, but I thought, you know what, it's a fair point. But one of my thought processes was, right, so try and bear me, people might not agree with me with this is right, is that if they did go to HMOs, they're going into HMOs anyway. We know that. This is not even a new problem, by the way. This is not something that's just happened within the last...
No, I think it's
it's been highlighted.
It's just gathered a load of media coverage as of recent.
And momentum. And, well, it would have had more media coverage if it been put in the mainstream media, but it hasn't. That's another topic we need to discuss.
People like you putting it out there.
Exactly. So we're accurate reporting. We can only, our cameras don't lie, okay? No. So my thought process was, right, okay, if they're going into HMOs anyway, put them in the HMOs, right? Close down all the migrant hotels, put them in the HMOs, right, which is going to cause more aggravation. I get that. So it's so-called Operation Scour, which is what they were looking at doing anyway, right? If there's no hotels, where can they possibly go if there's no HMOs, right? Because when you think about we've got a housing crisis already within the UK. There's people on the welfare system or the housing list waiting for housing,
no doubt
waiting to be on HMOs.
Put them on the list, though, won't they?
And they're going to be pushed to the bottom of the pile. And I know it's going to...
But they won't be. Will they? Can you guarantee that they will be pushed to the bottom of the pile if they go on the housing list?
What, you mean like normal British people?
Yeah.
I know that for a fact.
Do you reckon?
Because I know that in some councils, for instance, I know the one where I live, they've removed the bottom layer.
Okay.
So you know, like where you'd have a category. I don't know too much about it because I've never been part of the social housing system. You get a grade,
stages,
a priority grade. Yeah. So say the bottom one might have been if you're a single mum with 2 kids or whatever. I don't know if that is the category, but whatever the bottom grade is. Yeah, or say you're a male, a British male, and you're homeless. Yeah. Okay, they've removed that category, so your priorities, you need a higher need, in order to meet the threshold. Okay, so
you don't think them being homeless here, even though it's on them because they turned up here on a boat, that they won't say, because they're single males, I guess, not them.
Well, the thing is, for the guys that have come here, do you blame them? They've been given a free meal ticket.
No.
Right? So if you wave something, it's openly been promoted. There's been open propaganda, like with telling these guys to come across.
We will house you, and then we will.
Yeah, we will pay. We will incentivise
you to go back
with X, Y, Z. So I'm not being funny. If I was them, I wouldn't blame them for doing it.
No.
Okay, but it doesn't solve the problem.
No.
Okay, what we've got.
Our government shouldn't be allowing it to happen in the first place.
Exactly, and I think there's no will of the government wanting to stop it. And that is where the problem
So there's
lays.
Clearly an incentive behind it, isn't there? Which is what exactly. I believe it needs to be the main focus.
So with regards to the HMOs, for instance, right? If there's gonna be a problem with HMOs at some point anyway, yeah. So my theory was, right, okay, if we get him in there now, as soon as possible, we're getting to the root of the problem faster, because we're only going to get there in the end because they are doing it. Yeah. And if there's no migrant hotels and we've still got people coming in, where are they going to go? We bring the problem to the ports, yeah. Because that's where the funnel effect is going to be. Yeah. There's going to be a massive problem at the ports, and they're going to have no choice but to turn around. Because where are they physically going to put them if there's no room in HMOs and there's no hotels? And people are talking about like RAF fields and old army bases and stuff, which they are using as well. Like there's one in Essex, like the Weathersfield one, up near Braintree, I believe it is, and. But they could put up detention centres. They're very cheap. They're very cost effective. They can be put on campsites. Yeah. You know, people were saying, but it's unethical to have a tent. So what? What do homeless people do?
Better than being on a boat.
Yeah.
In the middle of the ocean.
Well, exactly. If they're fleeing persecution. I was
going to say, or if they're fleeing danger, then a tent in a nice calm field is great.
You should just be grateful that
you're not getting bombs dropped in your head.
But they shouldn't be here anyway. I don't want them here, but I'm just talking about the scenario that they are. We've still got to deal with the fact that they are here. You know, and some of them are even to the point where they're making themselves homeless, so they don't check into their migrant hotel. They make themselves homeless, and then so they can try and get themselves an upgrade, right? So that whether that's in a better area, right, or a better hotel, whatever, right? That's what they're doing. I've seen, but anyway.
So, with the counter protests, they have intensified claims of 2-tier policing. There have been standpoints from, I would say, the left side saying that the risks are demonising the genuine asylum seekers, ones that are escaping danger or distress back where they are from. And it can be causing stress to local safety and more money to be spent on resources such as police. What are your views on those points?
Of course, there's going to be genuine asylum seekers, but we don't know who they are.
No.
Or genuine people. And that is the whole point. Why do they come on boats and throw away their documentation? Why do they not apply for asylum? Is there a way of... They've got phones. They have phones because they're on boats on TikTok. Yeah, they're posting things. So why can't they apply for asylum before they even get on it? But why don't they come through the right measures? Yeah. Why do they not come... don't forget, this isn't... We're highlighting the issue with boats. It's not just an issue with boats. We also have a problem with legal migration. Okay? And the reason why I said I'm not against legal migration, right? My mum's Irish and my dad's Maltese, right? But I was born here. My dad was born here. Yeah. So I was brought up in a generation of where there was migrants coming over to the country.
So
right?
you believe it needs to be controlled and need to be integrated?
100% needs to be controlled. But I believe UK is full. We're a very small island, right?
That's something I stressed. Americans don't realise how small we are. When I say we don't even have enough houses for the small amount of people we have
it's
here.
Unsustainable. We're putting so much pressure on all our services.
Yes.
And the knock-on effect is unreal. So we are just unsustainable. So then you've got people coming over on student visas. So they're coming over in a legal way, and then when their visas run out, they just stay. They don't get. There's no deterrence whatsoever. And then we're handing out British passports like sweets. Do you know what I mean? you know, if you go to countries like, say, if you go to, like, a lot of people from the UK have gone to Dubai, for instance, yeah?
Yes.
Right, they've gone to work there. Do you think that they would get a citizenship or a passport over there? Never in the month of Sundays.
Even
they
somewhere
will not
like
throw
Australia,
out. So,
you can't go more than a few months
exactly,
at a time.
You are in debt to them, yeah?
Yeah.
You know, they're like, basically, they're hard line on you. Even if you were there 30, 40 years, they probably wouldn't even give you one under special circumstances. Okay, we need to protect our sovereignty within the UK, and we are just handing them out. And then what you got to understand is, as soon as they get the right to stay over here, they're bringing over their families, because it's not just the one person. They bring over their wife, their kids. Because why do we not see kids and women? Very few we see coming over on boats or coming over illegally seeking asylum. These men, the fighting age men, they should be back there protecting their country, because I would. So it's just a big farce. And in terms, what is it you asked me about the left?
Just about them saying that it risks, obviously you've just covered demonising genuine asylum seekers and stressing local safety and spending more money on resources such as police,
okay. Well, if you look at what's happened in the Ukraine, we saw genuine asylum seekers, women and children coming over from the Ukraine. That was quite visible. We've seen that. Yeah. We haven't seen that now. We know that there's a genuine war in the Ukraine. Yeah, between you, even though I disagree with it. Yes. Won't go into that. I don't want to talk about anything outside.
We'll save that for the next time.
I don't really want to talk about anything. I care about Britain. Yeah. Yeah, I care about Britain. I know these wars go on in other countries.
So are you under the firm belief that we shouldn't be sending money or resources to Ukraine or to help
I'm totally
Gaza
against foreign aid. No. Can I swear?
Yeah.
Fuck them. Seriously, in terms of like foreign aid, we need to stop that. Because all we're doing is funding wars to make all these people...
We don't even have enough money to fund our own country.
Not only that, but the money that we're sending, it doesn't improve the lives of the people that need it, because they're not getting it. It doesn't reach them.
It's helping war. It's helping kill people.
Yeah, exactly. We're funding arms. No woman or child should be part of a war and be killed, no matter what side you're on. But unfortunately... there are casualties, and that is just the nature of war, and that is it. We can't hide away from that fact.
Collateral damage, they call it, don't they?
And we've got
but someone. It's not.
No, exactly. And people like Trump coming in, try to keep peace. He's trying to. People don't understand. People think he's a bad thing. I don't necessarily agree.
I think he come over to kind of show his support for us during these times. If anything, his recent visit. The left made quite an interesting spectacle out of his arrival, didn't they? With
the production of video footage with him and Jeffrey Epstein. I don't know what they're trying to get out of that. I know they all got arrested. I mean, you can't stop, it was just
they got arrested though, haven't they?
I think there's 4 of them that got arrested.
What was it for? I can't remember what they were arrested under now. It was quite amusing though.
But it'd be interesting to know what happened with between himself and Keir Starmer, because... do you want to talk about the free speech side of things?
We will get to that bit as well. We will get to that side in a moment. But yeah, I did notice he had, he looked a lot more happy to see Charles than he did Keir Starmer when he
Well, I'm not a fan of King Charles either, to be honest.
So I would like to talk about the Tommy Robinson march that happened on September 13th. You were there.
Yeah.
And your missus was there.
Yeah.
Which was nice to see. She looked very nice, I must say, in the picture.
Thank you very much.
You're punching. Joking. So
you're not the first person to say that.
Am I not?
So it must be my personality. It must be my views.
Do you reckon that's what it was?
It must be my views.
It's the views.
It's my views.
She's
see.
She's just there for the views.
Yeah. And it's my red hat.
It's the clout and the hat that does it for him. I'm going to get me a hat like that.
I should have brought you one. Well, it's not even mine. Someone gave this to me at the rally.
We should have stolen another one for me.
I was supposed to give it back to him, but I like it too much. Even the Polish member of European Parliament backstage will come up to me and he looked at it and goes, I really like your hat. And I took it off and showed him. He goes, it's different because of the embossing on it. And he took a picture of it. He got it on his hat and he had his phone there, and it was just before he went up to speak as well. So I wondered why he was nervous, and he was like, yeah. And then he took a picture, goes, I like that, Dad. I was like, yeah, mate.
He looks like a very serious guy, didn't he?
He is huge. Like in presence. No, just presence. But he was lovely. He was so nice.
I saw a little brief. I was like, he looks like a very serious guy. But the Unite the Kingdom rally, I believe Epping tensions spilled onto a bigger stage alongside Tommy Robinson. The media, BBC, etc., had estimated the attendance at about 100 to 150,000. You're already shaking your head. What do you say based on them figures? Would you agree with that?
No. No way do I agree.
They based it, I think, on previous marches, didn't they? Not of Tommy Robinson.
And have you seen Have you seen the police
overhead?
Not the police overhead. Have you seen the police posted a picture yesterday of an anti-Trump protest, and there was about a few hundred anti-protesters there, and they claimed that was 5,000 people there. So depending on what side you're looking at it from, I done a post. I responded to actually one of Tommy's posts about this because he put 110,000 laughing, and I put who done the calculations? Diane Abbott.
I did see that.
You saw that one, right? So I was getting all the negative, as you do. Like it's fine.
You will.
It's fine. I ignore it. You know, it's the Wild West on X, as you know.
You got to be fixed in to be on that platform.
The thing is, we can't. This was actually a topic we were discussing yesterday in our space, because we can't actually quantify the numbers. So I've had some people, you know, the mainstream media are going to play it down. The lefties are going to play it down. The people from the right are going to play it up. Now, I know there's claims they could have been up to 3 million. I would say that's at a push. I would say a reasonable.
Up to a mil, I would say.
I would say 1 million, which would still make it the largest rally in history. Was
for a long time at least.
was easy. I mean, I'm speaking to people. Some people going, well, the police said there was 50,000 people, at each stage. So there was 5 stages plus the main stage. There was just 300,000 at that front bit alone, not including all the people that are backed up and all the people that are all backed up by London Bridge, Blackfriars, right? All the people that are down by Parliament Square. And the people that then didn't even get in, right? And then also speaking to someone this morning who organises rallies, the biggest rally that they had, he said, was up to around 70 or 75,000 people. And I was trying to compare it to like football grounds and what was things when you're in football stadiums and you have a seat, you've got a gap in between you. Now, I can honestly say, because I walked all the way from the back, from Blackfriars Bridge, all the way to the very front, the very, very front. And on that way, the build up, luckily, I caught the cusp of it building up when we went over Blackfriars Bridge. Yeah. But it filled up very quick. And what people don't see, so I know they see the helicopter shot because Tommy Robinson, for this reason, hired a helicopter on the basis that he didn't want the figures to be played down by the mainstream media. Okay? But even with that helicopter shot, what you don't see is all the side streets were spilt out into as well.
I saw one little shot where you could see the side streets.
But they were absolutely, and when I say
it looked rammed as well,
you know, sardines. There was nothing in between. And what you got to understand, there's obviously when you're seeing it from a front-on view, you're only going to really see men because men are a lot taller. You don't see the women and the kids that are down here. No. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not trying to make excuses, but when you're like looking at some of the roads, the width of the roads, they were chock-a-block. Like shoulder to shoulder, like that. So for us to get through, we were like literally sneaking in and around to get to the front. So I reckon 1 million would not be an unreasonable estimate. There probably could have been more.
I would say it looked like over 100,000.
But what people don't forget as well, and this is the other conversation I had with someone this morning. There were so many people that were still in the pubs and the restaurants around it, but they stayed in the restaurants and watching it on either on their phones or screens rather in there because they don't want to be squashed in there. They just want it to be present. They didn't necessarily want to be in that.
A part of it, but not in and amongst it necessarily.
But to say 110,000, I mean, I think 1 million is an actual acceptable. People are going to disagree with me because we can't actually quantify. We even said, what about on the next one? I've suggested like maybe he needs to do like I don't know what the restrictions are, but if you've done a payment gateway and just charged everyone say £1, so you've got people
a way
of clocking the people that are willing to go, or the mobile phone mast information, because obviously we've all got GPS in our phones, so all the mobile phone masts will be able to
see the difference in the area at the time.
How many people have like logged on or whatever. There are means, but whether they'll give you the full Freedom of Information Act, you'll never know. But one thing is for sure, it was huge. The lefties, even they were the jellies. Well, they are jelly. They are jellies, in my opinion. Sorry,
the jelly bellies.
The jelly bellies. They even posted a video. There was, I believe, it was Stand Up to Racism video, not necessarily from their official account, but there was a couple of guys who done. Well, if anyone wants to quote me if it was real or not, but I've got it on my phone. I've watched it. They sat there and they had a little discussion between themselves, just a minute conversation, accepting defeat. Accepting that there was around 1 million people there. They held their hands up, which was humble of them, and they even admitted that they claimed to have 50,000. They even admitted they were probably close to having 10. I've had people say even to me 5,000. So it's all down to that mainstream narrative, isn't it? To downplay.
And like you said, you're never going to be able to get the exact figures.
Exactly. We just know that there was. We can say there was more than that figure that they're quoting, and there was a hell of a lot of people.
Would you say it was a peaceful rally?
100% peaceful.
Yeah.
100% peaceful.
I didn't hear much.
Obviously, you're going to get your few arrests.
You'll get a few people that use it as a guise, I think, for their hatred as well. So you'll have a few extremists on both sides,
of course.
left and right.
You're going to get people that using that platform to infiltrate for their own reasons.
Yes.
Like I've seen footage of,
yes,
etho-nationalist Nazis that have gone there and they're like going to like I've forgotten the guy's name, but he worked for Rebel News, the Australian guy, and they were being like so. They were just being. These guys aren't part of what people. If people think that they're part of what far right is, they're not. These guys are extremists.
Yeah.
These guys are infiltrators. That's not what the movement is about, or what Tommy Robinson is trying to portray.
I think that brings me on to my next topic. So obviously, Tommy Robinson is saying that's not what he's trying to portray. So that led me to his choice of guest speakers.
Yeah.
I had a feeling Elon Musk was going to send in something or have something because he's been quite supportive of Tommy Robinson's cause and what he's trying to achieve. Some of the guest speakers were pretty far right. They're known for being kind of far right,
but
politically
again, it's the label,
leaning.
But it's the label.
Yeah,
but why are you saying far right? It's not. It's because they're just strong in their beliefs. So because someone is confident with the way they project their beliefs, and they're like absolutely saying
Didn't the evil lady burn a Quran recently?
So,
I would say that's pretty far right. Like,
why is it far right?
I will just give me a moment. I will just have a little turn here. So, my problem is I worry that they're fueling hate under the guise of free speech. One of the gentlemen, while talking about Christ is King and preaching about Christianity, he then mentioned that we should be eradicating others based on any alternative faith. To me, that is the exact definition of what the Muslims would say is jihad. So they say that basically if someone is coming against them and trying to kill them because of their religion, they have a right to turn around and fight back or kill back, right? So to hear this man on stage basically saying, because I did watch the clip of him basically saying that they should be eradicated, I was like, well, that's very extreme. That's a very extreme view. So my kind of point was, what is making them extreme views any better than the extreme views of these, say, illegal immigrants or the Muslims, etc., that they were talking about? To me,
but we've got to define, because I don't think...
They both sound really radical.
There's two separate correlations, because even though there is a link, we've got to keep illegal migration separate to like this whole thing about, say, Islam.
I was going to say, so why was it like mainly kind of anti-Islam speakers then?
Because there is an infiltration of Islam. There's going to be an Islamification of this country if we don't look at it, right? I don't necessarily believe in all the hardline views on it, but there are views on it which I do disagree with. Okay?
Do you not think that's just as bad to say that we need to eradicate them? That's just as bad as them wanting to eradicate us.
I think what it is. So because I'll use the term, say the right or the far right, even though we're not. But in terms of clarification of what we're talking about,
use
it. Because the UK public, for instance, the British people have been suppressed for so long. They've seen so much change, whether that's demographic, right? And that doesn't just mean about where you come from or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's all about culture and society, okay? We've seen a massive change. And what I've seen, which is part of the free speech issue we've had with free speech and the mainstream media, is the suppression of being able not to speak out, because if you do, you get yourself in trouble.
Yes.
Again, like whether it's waving your national flag, whether it's saying something.
So would you say it was more of a protest to say,
it's a fight back?
A freedom of speech fight back.
Yeah, I would say that, right? I'm a Christian myself, okay? I'm a Catholic. I'm not a practicing Catholic. I'd admit that I do go to church every now and again, but I'd be lying if I said to you I'm a devout Catholic and this, that and the other, right? But I believe Britain is a Christian, right, nation, okay?
Of course.
It is.
Yeah.
We have to protect that. We have to. Because if we don't, things like Sharia law will come in, right, which is what they were speaking about. Even someone, I can't remember who it was that said yesterday, because there was so much going on, they actually... When they were asked about Sharia law, they didn't refuse to sort of to close it down, right? So we know it goes on in this country.
Well, there are courts, but they're not legally recognised, are they? So It doesn't.
Well,
but
what I'm saying is, it always starts with something. Before you know it, it becomes within the society, and it becomes
legally
acceptable.
recognised.
And exactly. And
so that's your concern of where that will end up going to.
And people go, yeah, but you're not a Muslim, so that means it won't even affect you. It will just be people that that are going to be put under trial by Sharia
still in
law.
the country, though.
Okay, but
still within
doesn't make it right, does it? Okay, not only that. So then, what if then Sharia law took over British law at some point? Because it starts somewhere, and it will only get bigger and bigger. There'll be more Sharia, right? Okay. So for me, it's more about, I know people are going to come over from other countries, right, and speak, because they can see what's happening to the UK, and they've a lot of these guys have eradicated certain issues within their society, and their countries are happy. Their culture, they're living their best lives now, because of certain things. We've got to understand, as much as we live in a multicultural society, multiculturalism does not work. We feel like we've been invaded at such a pace, right, that it's become. Like, if you go back to sort of even like the 50s after the war, right, you had the Windrush, you had Irish people that coming over. Then later on you had the Poles and that, okay? There was a need for them people at that point, but at the beginning there was all this racial tension, there was whatever going, but over time people integrated, so even at these rallies you're getting people saying that there's not one part of it. Tommy Robinson is not racist, okay? I need to make that clear. If anyone can find me one shred of evidence, anything that he's posted or he said racist, please show it to me.
The speakers that were questionable. So obviously, I get it was a whole kind of fight back of freedom of speech.
So you're looking at Dominic Trzynski,
and,
is it right?
And Eric, and then Eva were the main three that I noticed.
His favourite number. He was the guy that I spoke to backstage very briefly before he went up and spoke. And he was very powerful in what he said, because he's the member of European Parliament for Poland,
Yes.
They've got literally like zero migration. Illegal migration, I need to add that. Okay. And that was his favourite number. That was his thing. And it's just so prominent. Like, it gives people within the UK listening to these people speak, it just gives them hope. It doesn't mean we all agree with it.
I agree with him, for sure. I was just going to say, the ones that were very obviously, like I said, with the eradicating of other people, that was when I kind of sat there and I felt, how are you any better than the people you're fighting against at this point? To me...
because we're fighting back. Because we feel we've been suppressed for so long. Okay. So what point do we make a stand? Like, what do they want us to do? Sit here and do nothing? That's what we've been doing for 20 years. Mm-hmm. And it's my parents' fault. It's my fault. Yeah? We need to have done this years ago, because we were living too comfortably. Yeah. And then we were allowing things. We've been infiltrated. Not even just by the left. We're now being infiltrated by, going back to the judiciary system, we've been infiltrated by them, the left activist judges. So our judiciary's absolutely, we've got two-tier judiciary. Our policing have been infiltrated. Our education system, our children being indoctrinated now with these woke ideologies. And it's happening in workplaces. I speak to friends, and they work in corporate positions, and they turn their nose up at it. But obviously they comply. I'm like, why are you complying? Why?
Money.
Fight back.
Money, isn't it?
Yeah, but I get it, but I refuse to do that.
So
and
that's why the government are going along with this whole
Exactly, but why should we comply? So what, are we just still going to be told what to do?
I understand. That's a fair point.
Should we not fight back? So where does it start? Tommy Robinson's obviously been doing it for a number of years. And to give him his credit, you've got to bear in mind what he's been through for the last sort of 12 years. All he's been doing is fighting against the system.
Cause, right?
The
same thing over
Can you
and
imagine?
Over again.
He's been doing it on his own.
He hasn't changed a tune, I'll give him that.
No, but he's been fighting against, and he's been put into some precarious situations, right, on his own. Okay. And he's still willing to stand up for them beliefs.
But you can imagine why some people then would associate him with far right if they were his choice of speakers. Like, can you see why?
Of course, but why wouldn't you? Because he's getting speakers that represent what we are trying to represent, be
but
about.
Then freedom of speech obviously should mean freedom of speech for everyone.
Exactly.
So
I agree.
What about the counter protests?
They can say
whatever they want.
Right. So the thing is with this, right?
Poking.
So like even you said about the girl that burnt the Quran.
Yes.
Okay. If someone burnt a Bible, I would think you're just a bit of a dick. But I wouldn't go, right, you need to go to prison for it. No. But what we're seeing with the counter protests, right? Especially when that lady, she was on my friend's live stream. She was doing Nazi scum, Nazi to get off our streets, Nazi, and then she does a Nazi salute herself, right? And then she claims she didn't, right? And then people go, oh, well, Nick Tenconi done one. No, he didn't. There's a massive difference. He pumped the fist out, right? I can have that argument all day. Right? Okay. We are not Nazis, okay? You can call us what we want. But trust me, we're not Nazis.
Put your hand out. No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
Before I start doing it, But the reason why I would say people on the right get upset with it, because it's two-tier. Why was that lady not arrested immediately? If that was someone else, there was a guy who went to a protest and he said, we love bacon. He got arrested for inciting hatred. Yeah.
Someone recently got arrested for calling someone a muppet.
Yeah, that's happened twice.
Which is crazy to me because I actually quite enjoy calling people muppets.
Yeah, but the police officer on the one that I seen, which is actually a bit of an old footage, I know the one you mean.
Oh, okay.
There was that's a new one, the one you saw. But I pulled out another one. I come across it on TikTok and reposted it, and it was a couple of years old. It was I can't remember the YouTuber's name.
So it's not their first time.
But it was the police officer that made the arrest because he was harassed and alarmed and distressed because the guy told him he was a muppet.
He was harassed and distressed
and he was a
called
sergeant.
a muppet.
So if a police officer can't do his job properly and cope with that, well, then he's in the wrong job.
I would assume.
You know what
so.
I mean? And
I'm sorry, but if you take it personally and you can't handle someone calling you a muppet as a police officer, I'm sure they get called a lot worse. You shouldn't be in that job. You're clearly too emotional. You can't keep yourself regulated. When you're in a position like that, especially around heightened emotional situations like protests and marches, you need to be able to regulate yourself. You can't be getting caught up and I'm offended because that side called me a muppet. That to me is absolutely
I get like
absurd.
that when I film. So if I prepare myself, right, I always say to myself, right, don't get... Because when I do, the lefties do get a little bit annoyed with me because I sort of kill them with a bit of sarcasm and I won't move. I don't know if you've seen where the security, I'm in Epping, I'm from around the area.
Yeah.
Right? And I've got Stand Up to Racism with their fake security, right, with their fake SIA badges, trying to tell me where I can and cannot go. I'm in a public place, mate. Do not tell me what I can or cannot do. Even if the police ask me,
I would have been like, who are you to tell me that?
I carry around with me a Section 17 on me, telling them, and I can show them whatever I want. But when they're trying to tell me to move, and then I've got people telling me, get out of Epping. No, mate, I don't think so. Right? You ain't telling me to do it. And because I refuse to move in them situations, they get really wound up.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
So that brings me on to the two-tier policing. So with 98% of 2024 and 25 protest arrests targeting anti-migrant groups versus the 2% for counter-protests. So only 2% of the arrests were for the anti-racism protests. Right. 98% of all arrests were...
Okay, in numbers, because that sounds like an extreme figure, but when you think that locals will outnumber any anti-protest, right? Because even when they try to rock up on numerous occasions, if anything, they're very small numbers.
I was going to say, does it maybe show the whole process of this two-tier policing and justice because of how much focus was on arresting your side?
Yeah, so there's two sides to that. So you've got. People got to understand these anti-protesters, right? They are brought in to agitate, right? So once they've done their job, they pull the ring out of the hand grenade, drop the bomb, and they piss off. Yeah, you've now left a triggered group of people, locals, right? And then the police turn on them. Now, in regards to the police, if I'm talking about Epping specifically, and this is what I say to people, you've got to go then, you feel the sense. There's a couple of times I'll speak to the locals and I go, I think it's going to kick off here tonight, purely by the presence of the police. Yeah. Because when they turn up in riot gear with their helmets and their batons and their gloves, right, and they're turned and they really they're standing shoulder to shoulder. Yeah. They're there for a reason, right? And I've seen it firsthand, even when we walked from the Bell Hotel towards the civic offices. And they try and keep you on one side of the road, which is fair enough. But the moment you just walk, might go straight, just walk across that little white line in the road. Yeah, I've seen the police do it, nudging them in, using shoulder barges. And I've had other people tell me, and they've shown me bruises where they've squeezed their arms.
I have seen some of the bruises. They screwed their wrists and their forearms, and they've done it on purpose to leave marks. And when then we turn up at other protests, like the one on Sunday, for instance, because it was peeing down rain. Probably thought not a lot of people would turn up. I mean, don't get me wrong. I was surprised by the numbers. Probably a good couple of hundred. Okay, in that rain was actually quite torrential. I got soaked. But anyway, and there was only about 6 to 8 police, and they were absolutely lovely. They were fine. So you get a tone when you're there. So it's like I say to people, get yourself out to a protest. It's different to watch it on a live. You can sense it, and
Yeah, I mean, that very first one, going back to the one where there was a lot of kick-off, because that was when there was quite a lot of tension. The police were well over the top. I'm not excusing behaviour by local people, but at the same time, the police could have de-escalated it. And there's been a couple of times where I've seen a young lad getting arrested for carrying a spray can. And that when they arrested him, he had a shorts and t-shirt on. He didn't have the can on him. He was thrown into the back of a meat wagon. And then he was protected by a ring of riot police. The locals were agitated, so they even tried to get another van in and then they were actually pushing people, women and children, over, right, to stop people getting. They were actually being forceful. And I spoke to one of the officers who was he had the white cap on, so I think he was like one of the sergeants, or he was in charge. And I actually had a conversation. I said, "Can you not just use some sensible police? You found policing. You've not found anything on him. He's got shorts and t-shirt. Take his details, give him maybe a warning, and de-arrest him. If you de-arrest him, you will de-escalate the situation amongst the locals here. Yeah,
just a quick warning.
And it's like,
he'll probably chill out.
But they don't use common sense. They do not use any common sense because it's like a power trip and an ego thing. Or they've had word from above to keep it agitated because they want to make arrests. Okay. Like when Sarah White got arrested for waving the flag. You know, they knew that they were going to arrest him that day. They knew that they were going to do it.
If I... The way you just looked at me then. If I were to walk into your protest shouting, "Viva integration," would I be safe?
Yeah.
That was a pause.
Yeah, the reason why I thought about it, because I was thinking about what you were saying and the way that you would approach. So that actually happened last night.
Oh, did it?
Yeah. So there was a lefty. We was protesting outside Loughton police station.
Right.
She was a lefty, but she was local.
Okay.
She came in with her dog. I didn't get there right at the beginning, but she made comments about, why we was out there, and even though she was surrounded, but bearing in mind there was a few of us YouTubing, filming.
Yeah.
We let her have her say, and she got shut down very quickly because we've disproved her theories about she's obviously been brainwashed by the mainstream media.
Yeah.
But, so people like that, you can't really take grievance with. She wasn't there deliberately. She was out walking her dog. She wasn't there.
Sometimes people are a bit ignorant because they only see, obviously, like when they only get their news off the TV, they only get what they want the news want to show people. So unless you're on places like X or do your own independent research, then a lot of people are ignorant to what's actually going on. Sorry, please continue.
No, that's absolutely fine. And and she, there was a question mark. She goes, well, why don't she was all about she wants what's best for the country. She actually said, what about our youth? And we were like saying, YTS schemes, and I said, because there's nothing available, because all our money, all our funding is going on these like hotels and being invested into the wrong things.
Yeah.
There are our children that are around, say 16, I don't know, say to 21, still either university, college age. Yeah.
Yeah.
They should be allowed to get part-time jobs or whatever, depending on what their situation is. Yeah. There's nothing out there for them. No. We've got these guys going around doing Uber Eats and Deliveroo's on these provisional licenses, or if any, they got any. They're using fake IDs. I know that for a fact. Allegedly, all right. They can't even ride these mopeds. They're actually a danger on the road, right? And I know people that work within the post office that see these guys come in with the same IDs, and they all use the same date of births, and they always use the 1st of January, right? Because it's the easiest one to remember. Okay, that's a fact, right? So they're using...
And the post office aren't turning them away, they are...
But this is, again, it's just a part of the system. That's another... They're just getting... They're finding ways around the system, whereas we shouldn't be doing that. We've got too many
loopholes.
We've got a high tolerance level. It should be... We need to be hard on some things. We're not that soft. The UK used to be... used to welcome people with open arms, but don't take the piss. And we've had our pants pulled down. Do you know what I'm saying? And that is exactly... Now we're at the point where now you are... now we feel like second-class citizens in our own country because you're prioritising migrants over the welfare of our children. You're policing them, you're escorting them, you're helping them out. Why aren't the police? They can afford the resources, right? So going back to your previous question about spending, why don't they put 1 or 2 police officers outside our schools? Because obviously what's going on recently, there's so much safeguarding issues. These men are allowed to roam free. If they're here illegally, right, they shouldn't be allowed that. They should be on curfew. Oh, it's against human rights. So what? I don't care. I care about my children, my family, and my friends. I don't care about you. I don't know you.
What about our rights?
Exactly. Our rights are being infringed
safe
every single day. You can't even have these conversations with police because they're so scared to speak out.
Yeah.
There's no one speaking in all these areas of society. And the thing is, we've got no one in government that's got a political will to sort this country out. Not one of them. They don't want to.
Or
They
a
generally
political
don't
leg
care.
to stand on. If you think, but like I said, like they're probably paid out. You know, there are people above them that they answer to.
That's the big list global agenda.
Yeah,
and I generally believe in that. You know, like if we had this conversation, I would have been, nah. Do you know what? You know, I think you're just a bit extreme, like sort of critical thinking there. Like, but it's true.
No, that's true.
When you've got people like BlackRock that have invested £1 billion in housing,
everything they do,
they want to make us into
when you follow the money. That's when I start getting passionate and a bit mad. That's where I'm more likely to protest as well, because like I said, it's all good and well protesting for what you're trying to do, but if the government ain't going to listen.
They don't.
What can we do?
What do we vote for? So every 4 years when we vote for a government, there's a manifesto that's put out and people vote on that basis. But Labour have done, Keir Starmer's done more in 12 months than anyone's done in the previous 14 years. But I'm not excusing the Conservatives before that.
No.
And you can go back all the way back to Tony Blair's times, right? You can go that far back if you really want to. Yeah. They're all to blame. Yeah. All they care about is themselves, right? So really everyone needs to sort of... Everyone needs to come together.
For the people. We need actual democracy again, where we listen to, where our vote actually matters. No, I get that.
You know, why are we not told about migrant hotels? Why have we not got a say? Keir Starmer made a pledge of this man. He's literally lied on everything that he said. What part of society is he not affected? He wants to. He's taken the winter fuel allowance away from the elderly, right? But these people that have probably fought for us to keep our country free, all right, even though we're not now. We feel we're living in a bit of a communist North Korean state, okay? Look what he's done to the farmers with council tax, with capital gains tax as well, right? He's trying to kill off the farmers. The new abortion rule that he's brought in, the assisted dying bill that they're bringing in, so he's trying to kill us all off at both ends, and he's trying to kill the people in the middle. You know what I mean? It's just absolutely, it's disgraceful, and we haven't voted for that. What part have we voted for? So these people need to be held accountable, whether they're supposed to be in there for 4 years. It goes against the will.
It needs to be open as well. The information needs to be open for people to access, like you said, where they are putting these people, what hotels they're using, how long they're here for. This needs to be public information, because if it is causing safety risks, then we need to know.
But it all comes down to the government. I think governments need to be held accountable. They've got 4 years, right? As soon as they come in, they need to, after the first 12 months, they need to show us what they've done. If they've done nothing or not done, say, 50% of made a start on this manifesto or done anything, they should be out. They should be like, right, it's got to go back. And they need to. And then once they get booted, say Labour, they're probably going to get booted out. Let's face it, they're going to, if they last another 3 years, right? If what I'm saying is, they'll then just get removed and get replaced by another party. Probably reform. I don't agree with reform either. I think another
I was going to say, who was the other game? Rishi? Do you think Rishi would have done any better?
No, because they're all part of this uni party. Yeah. So you got to think Labour and Conservatives have been uni party for 150 odd years, right? So there's been no change. Okay, but if they leave government, they should still be accountable for their failings.
I think we need an independent, full independent new party. So I'm going to move on to the tragic incident regarding the Charlie Kirk. So on September 10th, Charlie Kirk was fatally shot during a speech. Now, everyone has since echoed that Tommy Robinson's march themes were the same as Charlie Kirk. They strive for the same freedom of speech and the same core values and Christian values within their country. It was just an absolute tragedy. I am a firm believer that, like you said, everyone, no matter what side you're on, should have the freedom to speak, and to be taken out like that so brutally in front of your family and countless people was horrifying, I must say. What are your views on the incident that unfortunately took place?
Well, when I first heard of the news, I mean, I'm pretty active on social media, especially X. But that particular day, I was actually offline for quite a few hours because I was just tied up with completely loads of other things. And I went on about 9:15. I went on to X, and the first thing that come up was Charlie Kirk's been shot. And I was really taken aback.
Yeah.
And then the next thing that come up was the footage, which I won't go into. But as soon as I saw it, I thought,
there's no way.
There's no way.
No.
But I believe that it happened a couple of hours prior to that, and then within minutes, then Trump had come out and announced it.
Yeah, it was about 3 hours.
And it
after
literally
it got announced.
overwhelmed me. And then I was really taken aback because, I mean, I'm not going to say that. I'm up to date with Charlie Kirk, but I was never like, you know, even if you're not the biggest fan of him, no matter where you're from, what he tried to do was encourage debate and free speech. Yeah. Whether it doesn't matter what side you're on, and what I like best about him, I know he was known for going to a lot of universities and campuses and schools, and he played a big part in the youth that voted for Trump in the previous campaign, which helped him get elected. So there's a lot of credit that is due to him for that. And who knows, like maybe potentially even though he's sort of ruled out getting involved in politics, but there would have been, I mean, for someone for 31 to be assassinated, because that's what it was, in the manner that he did.
He would have ended up in politics.
I think he would have ended up maybe being the understudy to maybe J.D. Vance, who's now being sort of groomed for the next president, So for someone that young to be assassinated in that way, I will call it assassination, because it's literally someone's gone out of their way to politically kill him, purely because of his beliefs and the way that he used to take people apart. Let's face it, it's with facts. Like we're speaking here today.
He did it very cogent, very intelligent. He was never offensive. He never had to use.
He dealt with facts, and people couldn't handle that. You know, like we're sitting here, we're giving, you know, we've spouted out a few little facts and figures, but we're just giving opinions.
Yeah,
okay,
he was
and
a very
our beliefs.
healthy debater.
And he said, you cannot. The facts do not lie, no matter what. And so his way of thinking, it probably got other people thinking from I say the left, because the left are probably in the woke side and in the US are probably just as bad as what they are over here. So he would, you know, the way that he used to, you know, debate them, I thought was fantastic. And look, I think everyone's entitled to free speech.
Yeah.
Everyone. Okay. I do think there is a point where you can cross the line into hatred, whether that's like a really direct, like racism and the derogatory things, and inciting
maybe someone to do something violent. Or...
Exactly, and it does have to come with caveats, because you can't just have people saying anything.
Just because you can say something doesn't mean you should.
Yeah, so go and start burning the Quran, or if someone wanted to burn the Bible, that should not be a prisonable offence, right? Yeah. You know,
just because they can do it doesn't mean they should, though.
Yeah, no, exactly. I'm not.
But I get it.
But what, you know, people got their different views. That's why it's free, like free speech.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? People would like it. It's like
100%.
if you try to shut down free speech, and then, you know, people like comedians, you can't have laughs. Just, you know, I disagree with my family on things. I disagree with my mates on things. I still go down the pub with them.
Of course.
You know what I'm saying? So, you know,
you should be able to discuss your opinions, your ideas, and have this freedom of speech, but do it in a diplomatic way. You shouldn't have to be violent, and I think Charlie really represented that. He never was aggressive, violent, or never cussed anyone out. You know, like you said, he brought in pure facts, and he held himself. And the thing is, he invited anyone and everyone to debate him. He wasn't selective. He would sit there in a room and would go, right, let's go. And I really respected that about him. Even if I didn't agree with everything he said, I respect the way he held it.
And when you're dealing with someone that intelligent, like I struggle to retain information, right? His brain was like he could just pull out things from, you know, whether it's like theology or whatever it was, I mean, about his Christian values. I mean, I know some of his views are quite strong, but at the end of the day, that doesn't matter. We don't need to all agree on everything. And I'll just say that quote, because I said, lost time is never found again. That was a quote by Charlie Kirk. And it's very true. Very true. What a way to end it. I like problem. That. Thank you very much. That very much. Thank you for your time. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you. I've really enjoyed having you here. It's been really interesting to hear your perspective on everything, seeing as you've been there on the front line of it all, and I haven't. And you've had to deal with me on X. I'm inviting you to a protest. I'm going to come. Come with me. I'm 100% going to come. So, everybody who is watching, listening, please make sure you subscribe and follow at Martin Gauci on X or at Gauci Reports on YouTube for unfiltered takes and live footage. Before we wrap up, is there anything you'd like to add or promote, Martin? I'm on TikTok as well, and I'm on Instagram. What are you under on there? TikTok is Gauci Reports. Instagram is still my name, but my logo is Gauci Reports. Perfect. So, thank you very much for having me. Thank you. I've now got to go and catch a train. Hopefully we'll get you back in time. And thank you all for tuning into The Understory today. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, comment and share. Make sure to subscribe and hit that little bell
so you can be notified when we next release videos. Until next time. Thank you so much for everyone that joined us today on The Understory. If you liked this episode, please give it a like, give it a share, and leave your comment in the section below. Tell us what you like, what you didn't like, or what you want to see next. Also, don't forget to subscribe and hit that little bell so you can be notified whenever we drop a new video. Thanks for coming.